Welcome to The Explainer. I've been really looking forward to this one. We are diving into the life of an absolute visionary, Sir M. Visvesvaraya. If you're fascinated by people who look at literally impossible problems and just engineer their way out of them, you are going to love this. His ideas and engineering marvels didn't just tweak the system, they literally shaped the landscape of modern India.
Think about Bangalore for a second. Decades ago, it was known as a pensioner's paradise, just a quiet, sleepy town. Fast forward to today, and it's this booming global IT metropolis. Now, a massive transformation like that, it doesn't just happen by accident. It takes incredible foresight.
So it begs the question, right? Who actually laid the groundwork for all this rapid progress? Who planted the seeds of modernity that millions of us are still benefiting from right now? Well, it was Sir Mokshagundam Visvesvaraya. Most people affectionately just call him Sir MV. Let's look at the man who built this reality from the ground up.
Section 1. The Architect of Modernity.
To really get a genius like Sir MV, we've got to go back to his roots. And let me tell you, this is definitely not a story of inherited wealth or privilege, not even close. He was born in 1860 in the small, scenic town of Muddenhally, and his early years were tough. He lost his father when he was just 15, plunging his family into severe poverty. But, and this is absolutely crucial, his mother had this unshakable dedication to his education. So despite the grinding financial hardship, he didn't just scrape by, he absolutely excelled. He went on to study civil engineering in Pune and ended up graduating with the top rank from Bombay University in 1885. And because he was the topper, he walked right into a highly coveted post as an assistant engineer.
Section 2. Engineering the Impossible. All right, so this is where his career really catches fire, and we see his sheer genius in action. He wasn't just, paving roads. He was being sent to solve massive infrastructure crises all over the place. Totally different geographical challenges. In Pune, the Kadagwasla Reservoir was constantly threatening to flood. His fix? He invented a set of revolutionary automatic gates. Then, over in Aden, which the British controlled at the time, soldiers were literally dying of thirst, no local water supply at all. Sir MV's solution is brilliant. He studied heavy catchment areas 96 kilometers away, dug wells right in the riverbanks, and pumped all that water straight back to the troops. And in Hyderabad, the Musi River had caused these devastating flash floods that drowned over 2,000 people in one area alone. Sir MV steps in, surveys the whole area, and builds 2 massive protective reservoirs. And guess what? They are still protecting the city today. He was saving lives and totally reshaping the landscape. Okay, let's dive into this for a second, because the mechanics of his 1903 invention in Pune are just fascinating. He had to figure out a way to increase the reservoir storage capacity, but without actually making the dam itself physically higher. So he designed this ingenious system, using floats, deadweights, pulleys, and chains. Basically, when the lake hits the maximum safe water level, the water rushes into a connected well. That makes a float inside the well rise, which then triggers a heavy deadweight to drop. When that weight drops, it pulls the chains and automatically opens the gates to let the water safely out. Once the water level drops back to a safe point, the well empties, the weight resets, and the gates close. No electricity required, just pure physics. It is an absolute marvel of engineering.
Section 3. The Lifeline of Mysore.
By this point, Sir MV is pretty much a global legend. But he didn't want to stay abroad. He felt this deep calling to serve his homeland. So he headed back to take on the massive job of Chief Engineer of Mysore State. And his crowning achievement here? The Krishna Raja Sagar, or KRS Dam, built across the Kaveri River. Now, this wasn't just a big wall of concrete. It was an economic revolution. It took 20 long years to build, but it completely transformed this arid, dead land into flourishing agricultural hubs. Thanks to his canal designs, farmers could suddenly grow tons of excess paddy and sugarcane. It actually turned the adjoining Mandia district into what is now known as the Sugar City. Plus, it secured the drinking water supply for almost all of Mysore and Bangalore.
To put the colossal scale of this project into perspective, just think about the number 171. The dam stood 130 feet high, spanned 2.8 kilometers in length, and it utilized exactly 171 massive iron gates. And the coolest part? 48 of those gates were his very own patented automatic design. At the time, we're talking about the largest dam built in all of Asia.
The impact was so massive that Mahatma Gandhi himself remarked, "Krishna Raja Sagar alone would immortalize him." I love that quote. It really hits the nail on the head regarding the sheer magnitude and lasting historical impact of this single engineering marvel. It literally brought life and prosperity to an entire region.
Section 4. Industrialize or perish. So the Maharaja of Mysore was so blown away by Sir MV's work that in 1912 he elevated him to the position of Diwan, which is essentially the prime minister of the state. This is a huge pivot. He goes from master engineer to visionary statesman. And what's really interesting here is the staggering variety of things he launched. His personal motto was literally industrialize or perish. He looked at the resources they had and just got to work. He started the Sandal Oil Factory and the Mysore Soap Factory, which, by the way, is still a massive, iconic brand today. He established the Mysore Iron and Steel Works. He knew they needed local finance, so he launched the State Bank of Mysore. And, perhaps most importantly, he totally understood that industry means nothing without an educated populace. So he made Mysore the very first state to roll out free and compulsory primary education.
His pace was honestly just relentless. He's appointed Diwan in 1912. Fast forward to 1916, he founds the University of Mysore, which is a huge deal because it was the first Indian university established outside of British India. The very next year, 1917, he establishes the Government Engineering College in Bangalore. He was literally laying the technical groundwork for the IT boom we see today. And then, in 1919, after building the entire foundation of a modern state, he just voluntarily retires. He proved beyond any doubt that education and industry have to grow together.
Section 5. The Karma Yogi.
Now, to understand how one person pulled all of this off, we have to look at his unshakable personal integrity and his core philosophy. For Sir MV, work wasn't just a job, it was a form of spiritual devotion. He was a karma yogi. That means someone who treats work as religion, executing their duties flawlessly without caring about personal gain. And he really lived this. Keep in mind, his time as Diwan, 1912 to 1919, perfectly overlapped with World War I. So we're talking about an incredibly cash-strapped, hostile economic environment. But because he operated with that true karma yogi mindset, he still managed to pull off these absolute economic miracles.
And his personal integrity? It was legendary. Let me tell you about this famous dinner ultimatum. Right before he accepted the super powerful role of D1, he invited all his relatives over for dinner. He sat them down and basically said, "I will only take this prestigious office on one absolute condition. None of you ever approach me for a favor." He drew this incredibly strict, uncrossable line separating his public power from personal nepotism.
And even his retirement wasn't really a retirement. His post-retirement hustle was just as impactful. Those iron and steel works he started in Biography, they started failing. So, did he just sit back and watch? Nope. He rushed over, took over as chairman, and completely turned the whole operation around until it was flourishing again. And in classic karma yogi fashion, he took the 6 years of salary he earned from saving that factory and donated every single penny of it to fund an occupational training institute. And that institute is still operating as a premier polytechnic today.
Section 6. A legacy set in stone. Looking back at Sir MV's life, it's so clear that his uncompromising character left a permanent mark on the soul of the nation. And naturally, a life like that attracts some serious hardware from around the world. Back in 1915, the British made him a Knight Commander of the Order of the Indian Empire. 4 decades later, in 1955, an independent India gave him the Bharat Ratna, which is the absolute highest civilian honor you can get. He even lived to be over 100 years old. And at his centenary celebration, Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru actually flew down specifically to honor him. To this day, his birthday on September 15th is celebrated annually as National Engineers Day.
But despite all the knighthoods and the massive national honors, I actually think his last will and testament says the most about who he really was. When he passed away, he had a little over 30,000 rupees in life savings sitting in the bank, and he left it all, strictly to his driver, his secretary, and his staff. He didn't leave a single rupee to his family. It was just the ultimate proof of his dedication to the working people who stood by his side, valuing merit and service over bloodlines.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to consider today. How can we apply Sir MV's incredible standards, his discipline, his punctuality, his dedication, to our own modern challenges? He was a guy with absolute probity in a world where, let's be honest, corruption can be all too common. Whether you're managing a huge team, building a company, or just trying to organize your daily life, his story challenges us to execute our duties flawlessly, to respect our work, and to always build for the future. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer. I hope this deep dive left you feeling as inspired and ready to build as I am. Until next time, keep learning and keep engineering your own future.